Hello, I'm Fred Bergeron from Inaxsys. In today's video, we're going to cover probably the reason why I think customers should get a modern access control system, whether if you're an end user or an integrator. We're going to help you understanding the benefits of using such system. In this industry for, almost 22 years now, I've seen, the older technologies, to, the point where we are today, where, everything is integrated over IP and over, enterprise networks and so on. So I want to explain why it's important to choose something that's recent, that's modern, and that has the newer technology available inside it. In my department, we get a lot of calls from dealers that are still installing the old way. They still use 125 kilohertz proximity cards. They still want to use Wigan for communication between the readers and the access control module. They still use separate systems for access control and intrusion. And this is, this video hopefully will help you understand why you need to move to a better technology. I'm going to show this as an example. Obviously, there's other systems available on the market. That's our preferred system, the Protégé GX from ICT. But the key of having an access control system installed on a site is to make sure the system can also integrate intrusion alarms into it, okay? You don't want to use two separate systems, because this way you have to program the users into the two different applications from two different manufacturers. Let's say, if there is an intrusion alarm, you're going to have to look at and review events into the access control system and into the intrusion alarm. So it's very difficult for specifically an end user to be able to find the details, find the information that he needs by having to use two different applications. They don't use this system every day. They don't install this every day, so it's difficult for them to learn how to use one system, and now you're asking them to learn two different systems to manage the facility and the security of it. Okay, so again, always choose an access control system that is fully integrated as a security system as well. For instance, this Protégé system that I have here, Protégé GX, the main controller has a dialer, to call the monitoring station with contact ID and SIA. It has an Ethernet port where it can communicate alarms over IP and different protocols. It has inputs and outputs that you can use for bell outputs to trigger alarms. So it's a combination of an access control system and an alarm system into one. When you manage your users, you go to one software. If you want to control the devices remotely, you have just one app. You don't have to use two different applications on your mobile phone. So that's the key. You want to have a system that is fully capable of doing a proper access control system and intrusion all into one. When there's an event, you review the event's history from one software. You don't have to open two applications, two software. The second part is, for us, very critical, is the card technology. Okay? You don't want to use a card that you can clone after buying 20 bucks of equipment on Amazon or eBay, for instance. Okay? So you need to use a card technology that cannot be cloned, that cannot be copied, and that when the owner of the building is badging his card on the card reader, that it's him, like it's really him entering the building and not somebody who cloned this card and will access, restricted areas, for instance. Okay, so as an example, we currently use, this Fire AV2 cards, and they're properly secured. We haven't found any way of cloning them, so that's one example why you shouldn't use 125 kilohertz prox cards anymore. You should use, this Fire MyFair technology, which basically has encryption inside, and the encryption key exchange is handled at the reader level. If my reader is giving me access, it's because the system knows that I have the correct encryption key on my card, and then the reader will basically get to the sector where my card details are written. The next thing is, we believe that you should not be using Wigan anymore, because if you use OSDP or RS-45, there is encryption between the reader and the reader expander, and also if the reader goes offline. And then with a system like Protégé GX, if someone is ripping off a reader from the wall, after a few seconds, we know that the reader is offline. We can open the trouble, notify via email or notify on the keypad, and also notify the monitoring station that the reader has been ripped off the wall, which is something that's a bit more difficult to do with Wigan, even though there are some solutions. But it's very easy to intercept the Wigan wires and then simply repeat a message which is basically a fake card, and then you can unlock the door like that. So in other words, RS-485 is secure. There's encryption, high-level encryption between the reader and the module, and this way, it's impossible to basically hack the system like we could do with Wigan, for instance. So again, make sure you use a technology that has end-to-end encryption, basically from the software to the controller when you download information to it, and then from the controller to all the modules. Make sure everything is encrypted and cannot be, tampered with, right? For instance, if I rip up a power supply or a keypad, my system know that the keypad is offline. We can notify, the end user in the central station. Another subject is very important, primarily processing power. If you use a system that has been on the market for 30 years or 20 years, we can only assume that the processor and the memory allocation on that device is very low, or it's low performance. If you use a newer system, they have a lot more memory. For instance, with the GX, we have 2 gig of RAM as an example. The processing power is there. So when you badge a card, it's fast. The door unlocks quickly. Especially when you install in a very large system. If you have turnstiles where during the day, when the shift changes, there's maybe hundreds of people going through turnstiles. You don't want to create bottlenecks. You want to make sure every card read is treated fast by the main controller and that the decisions are made in a timely manner. So in a matter of like milliseconds or less than a second, let's say. Again, make sure you select a product that's been on the market, and for some time. Obviously, you want to have a mature system, but also make sure that it's a system that can perform the way you want. If you connect, let's say, 128 card readers to a single system, you want the system to be fast. You want the system to react quickly, all right? So that's another key. And also, look at the feature set. What do you need on your site? Do you need to have advanced features like area user counting, and then you arm the system when there's no more users in the area? You want to use anti-passback, loitering, interlock to create man traps. Let's say it's you have a bank and you can only have one user in this section of the system. All these things. If you have a system that can perform and has those features without the need of using relay logic or relay timers, and that's the old way to do it. With us, for instance, with the Prodigy GX system, all these features are managed by the main controller. The software is not even needed, all right? I can program very complicated interlocks or anti-passback systems and areas, and the controller will take care of all this in milliseconds. It's instant, okay? So that's very important. Find a system that will have all the features that you need inside its own feature set without the need of using like relays and inputs and outputs and things like that. Okay, so that's very important. Yeah, so basically that was, for me, it's the way to explain why, we think this system is very good, but also if you find any other system in your area, make sure you use something that can perform the way you want it, because you're paying for it, all right? So I hope this video helped you. My name is Fred Bergeron from Inaxsys. If you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or comments or recommendations for videos, let me know and we will answer you quickly. All right, thanks for watching.